We are moving on in therapeutic exercise to information that's going to be on exam 3, and the bulk of that information is going to be from these slides on improving muscle performance. Moving forward, I am going to be posting the slides and the lecture in chunks so that it's easier for you to rewind or fast forward through content that you either are very comfortable with or need to spend a little bit more time on. But the majority of the information for exam 3 is going to be found within this packet of slides. The information for improving muscle performance can be found in Chapter 10 in the first edition and Chapter 13 in the second edition. As we go forward using this technology, you're going to find that I'm going to move the webcam periodically just so it doesn't block out any of the information on the slide. So hopefully it doesn't cause any dizziness or anything. So to review, we discussed a couple of weeks ago the exercise principles of the specificity principle, or SAID, overload, and reversibility. Please review that information, and if you have any questions, we can review that during our discussions that are scheduled for later this week. This is the overview for improving muscle performance. And when we're looking at muscle, we're looking at the only tissue that is capable of generating tension. And that tension allows for the muscle to do the significant functions of maintaining posture, creating tension, absorbing shock, moving body parts. So as we move forward, we're going to be discussing all of the different components of muscle performance and how we can provide exercise to improve those components. Skeletal muscles possess these 4 biomechanical properties of extensibility, elasticity, irritability, and contraction or contractility. We've talked about extensibility and elasticity when we looked at stretching, and that's the muscle's ability to be stretched, and elasticity is the muscle's ability to return to its starting length. And we talked about that when we discussed stretching, in that we wanted, in order to create change, we had to move into the plastic range so that the new starting point actually is in a new lengthened position. The 2 concepts that we haven't talked about regarding these biomechanical properties are irritability and contraction or contractility. So irritability is the ability of the muscle to receive an impulse from the nervous system to generate movement, and the contraction or contractility is the ability of the muscle to create tension that eventually leads to the movement. There are 3 basic contraction types, and that's isometric, concentric, and eccentric. So you should be familiar with isometric, and that's generating tension but without joint movement. Concentric is generating tension in the muscle while the muscle is shortening, and eccentric is generating tension in the muscle while the muscle is lengthening. What I would like for you to do is to send a video link to me that you can either upload on Blackboard on the assignment page that I'm going to create, or you can send me a link to it in my email, demonstrating your ability to perform the 3 different types of contractions. So you may be using things around the house for resistance, whatever. I don't care if it's open chain or closed chain, which are concepts that we're going to talk about later in this section of slides. But I would like for you to demonstrate your ability to perform these 3 basic contraction types: isometric, concentric, and eccentric. So here's a comparison. Here's a chart that's comparing the different types of muscle contractions. And you can see how it incorporates the muscle performance, the strength, the power, endurance, and then leading us to either the concentric, isometric, or eccentric. And it shows that continuum from the least amount of tension on the left in concentric to the greatest amount of tension on the right, which is the eccentric contraction. So the key elements of muscle performance are force or strength, power, and endurance. So if you are missing any of these components or are weak in any of these components, this could lead to either a functional limitation, some type of disability, or an increased risk of dysfunction because of biomechanical faults that have resulted from that. So when we're looking at resistance exercise, we're looking at any type of exercise that is going to result in a contraction from some type of force that's either going to be a manual or mechanical force. So we've talked about providing manual resistance when we do our manual muscle testing, and then the traditional exercises when you're using free weights, body weights, TheraBands, anything like that. So how muscle tension can be created is dependent upon a number of factors. This slide here provides you a list of all these factors, and we're going to discuss each of them moving forward in this lecture, as well as the information is provided to you in the textbook. So be sure that you take a look at these chapters. If anything that you've learned as we have gone in the class with this semester is that how important the reading is. So be sure that you're doing the reading either chapter 10 or chapter 13, depending on what edition of the text you have. So this is a slide that just shows you what pennate muscles are. So if you look at the previous slide, it says that if it's a uni or bipennate muscle, that it can influence the type of force that's generated. So this is just a picture describing what those different pennate muscles look like, that they could be either parallel, fusiform, this bi, multi, pennate, just so that you can see the shape of the muscles. And obviously the shape of the muscle is going to influence the type of tension that can be generated in the muscle. So we've already discussed that there are three components of muscle performance, and that's strength or force, endurance, and power. So as we are moving forward, the different definitions of these components are here on this slide. So we have strength, which is the ability of the muscle to generate the force against a resistance. Endurance is the ability of the muscle to perform a lot of low intensity muscle contractions for an extended period of time without fatigue. And then power is the ability of force to happen in either with a lot of speed, with a lot of velocity. So it's a lot of work in a particular measure of time.